Hola! Well, don't worry, that's probably the only word I can say in Spanish, as you will very quickly notice. I'm JC Walravens, and I've spent the last decades running operations mainly for a US corporation, where I was in charge of operations mainly in Europe, Middle East, and Africa, but probably most in Europe. And you would probably believe that if you take Europe as a whole, cultures, people, the way they think, the way they behave is very similar, but still there is quite a number of differences that you need to understand. There is this story or this joke, whatever you want, about Europe, which defines what is hell and heaven in Europe. So heaven is where the cooks are French, the policemen are British, the engineers are German, the lovers are Italians, and everything gets organized by the Swiss. And hell is where the cooks are British, the policemen are German, the engineers are French, the lovers are Swiss, and everything gets organized by the Italians. And believe it or not, this is not upsetting the Italians. It's more the French people who most of the time raise their hands and say, what is wrong with French engineers? But joke apart, I noticed during my long career that you cannot believe that people will behave the same way or people will react the same way to the same information, even if from an apparent cultural standpoint. There is a great book that I recommend you read from a Dutch guy called Frans Trompenaar called Riding the Waves of Culture, who has identified the 7 dimensions of culture. So I will not go through this. If you're interested, you can read the book. But one is regarding the approach to rules and regulations, and how do you handle that? And he identified 2 types of people, which are the universalist, which very much apply the rule, as the rule says, and the particularist, which says, for example, that there are rules, but there are also exceptions to the rules. And he's giving this great example where he was facilitating a meeting with people, and he said to the audience, well, imagine you are driving your car, or you're sitting next to your friend who's driving his car, and the speed limit is 50 kilometers per hour, and he's driving 60 kilometers per hour. And then suddenly there is this lady just crossing the road, and he hits the lady. What are you going to say when the police comes? Are you going to say that, yes, he was speeding? Or are you going to say that he was below the 50 limit? And then he asked the audience what their reaction was. And it was very interesting to see that there were very much 2 different camps. You had typically people from United Kingdom or from the Netherlands who say, no, he's my friend and I love him. He's a very good friend, but he broke the rule. So I will certainly tell the police he was speeding and he was driving 60 instead of 50. And then you had the other camp, which was more Latin people, French, Italian, Spain, and so on, who said, well, he was not speeding that much. And he's my friend. So if the police ask me, I will certainly tell he was driving at 50 kilometers an hour. And then the facilitator asked, yes, but what if the lady has been badly hurt? What would be your reaction? And then the French guy in this example raised his hand and said, I will certainly say that he was not speeding because he would, the penalty of what he has been doing would be much heavier. And then suddenly the English lady raised his hand and said, no, not at all. I would certainly say that he was speeding because the consequences of what he has done are obviously worse if the lady was badly hurt. And I had to experience that. So someone would never expect that everybody will basically behave in exactly the same way. And just to come back and conclude with something that may be closer to South America, story about the people from Argentina who are Italians, who speak Spanish and believe they are English. Thank you.
Oh, by the way, I learned another Spanish name, La Neta.